Hey man, it's your boy, Mr. V. Let's get it, man. Thank you very much for tuning in to my YouTube channel. Thank you for stepping by, for walking on by. If you bump onto this, please, man, hit the notification bell after you've subscribed, of course, because then it will be easier for you to be notified every single time when I put up those videos. But I appreciate you passing by, walking on by. Maybe you can be a member of the family one of these days. Appreciate it, man. Anyway, let's get this thing going. Yeah, no, I haven't done this in a minute. It's been a couple of weeks. Look, man, I still hustle my end, so I needed to bust my backside to make things happen. You know, I'm a family man trying to come up. If you subscribe, perhaps I can do this thing full time, right? While we're on that, please, man, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. If you like the video, just hit a like. It helps a lot. You know, others can be notified through and through, right? Now, anyway, there's just one thing that has been in my head quite a bit before I even get to that main thing, right? I know in the past week I might be very late, but I just wanted to also show my appreciation to ZOLA for things that he has done for me, for things that he has done for things that he has done for me, also as a guy who looked up to him. He appreciated what he used to do for me in my life, really, when I was listening to his music, when I was coming up. It was great to watch him do his thing, right? It was very motivational, inspirational. We all grew up to ZOLA in some way, shape, or form. There is a bit of ZOLA in us, either be it through TV, through his music, through his acting, through all platforms that you would have had to encounter his kindness, his goodness, his mercifulness. You know, he was God sent, man, and really what he has been going through. It's not an easy journey, it's not an easy ride for one to go through, but we appreciate him nonetheless, right? I just hope and pray that all South Africans go all the way to showing him love. I know that he, at some point, what's her name now? The lady who owns Royal AM, she took him on a ride in her, I think it's a Bentley or one of these fancy cars. I'm not very good with cars, right? But I know that he took him, she took him on the ride where he drove the vehicle and spent the day with him, and I think he appreciated that, you know. But anyway, for me today, it has been these two, right? This man and this man, right? This is this is Nhlanhla, right? This is Nhlanhla, and this is Julius Malema, because these two gentlemen have been at it silently. They've been going off at each other in a silent manner, which is very subtle and gentle of them to perhaps go at each other in the way that they have. But I know for me, what made me do this video, it was the backstory of this thing is that I think on Sunday there was a raid that happened in Dobsonville where a gentleman, he was rumored and accused of selling drugs, and they raided the house, they searched the house. I don't think they got anything, because I don't think they would have kept mum about it if they'd gotten something. And finally today they went and they opened a case. This is the gentleman whose house was raided illegally, of course, and he was accompanied by the EFF. So the EFF here helping this gentleman, and Operation Dudula being on the other side. Maybe we should say Nhlanhla, because they went and opened a case against him. And it was very, it was very tight when I was thinking about it. For me, because I mean, if you want this story, you can always go and listen to all the reports that brought the story about. Mine was mostly to look at what these two gentlemen are advocating for, so to speak. So Nhlanhla's the side, he advocates for South Africans benefiting into what is their economy. And I'll mention some of the things that I agree with him on, right? While Julius Malema and the EFF decide, he believes that Africa should be for Africans and all Africans, and Africa should be one. There shouldn't be any borders, right? And because we're African to begin with. And I agree, man. So for me, right, when I look at the two gentlemen and I listen to them very attentively, I think they kind of want the same thing. It's just that the other one is doing it outside of the system and the other one is operating within the system, obviously with a bigger picture thinking, right? So I would say Julius Malema, he is looking at the bigger picture thinking when it comes to let me say, how do I put it? One of these days, Africa being one country, he would be that person that can lead the continent or the country as it will be then, right? Whereas there is a here and now, which is what Nhlanhla is going for, right? And he's not operating in the confines of parliament, whereas this one is in parliament, which then means that Nhlanhla operates from the needs of the people here and now, right? People are unhappy, people are not getting jobs. When you see a foreigner owning a shop, you find a foreigner working in that restaurant, you've never gotten that opportunity. Perhaps there are others who may have passed on the opportunity, and it is looked at as though South Africans do not want this opportunity. South Africans are lazy in whatever way, shape or form, however you might want to look at it. Now, what they want to do with this operation to do, right? They want to move these guys. So, okay, if they are out of here, then those opportunities will be ours. Let's see if we then mess it up when it's our own opportunity. When there's no one that is competing from outside who would be competing for the same opportunity. Which from that angle, I understand, right? But on this side, these guys are saying, please don't look at the issue of here and now, because you have got the future generation that is coming, right? You would want to see an Africa that is more united, Africa that can compete with the rest of the world, right? An Africa that can trade amongst itself, an Africa that should not have the artificial borders that were created by colonialism. And from that angle, you agree. But obviously, if there are bread and butter issues, it will be very difficult for one to look at this thing, right? I like one of the points that Nhlanhla made, right? He's like, okay, why is it that all these people who say the borders must not be there and so forth, why is it that they have borders in their own houses? They have big walls, electric fence, so that the person from outside who is foreign to that house should not come in. It means it's security related. Now, why must South Africa not have security measures? Which I completely understand and I agree with him 110%. Why is it that? Because if we're saying that it's free for all and everybody can do as they please, then we must be able to open up even our houses, have no walls within the confines of our houses. For those people who would live in an estate, for an example, you would have no yards to certain houses would not have yards, right? Even if they have yards, they would have very small yards that you can still access if and when there's a need, right? Because the bigger wall, which is obviously the estate itself, has been protected, so there is no reason why you need to feel unsafe, right? I think from a smallish point of view, that's what he would be advocating. That's what he would be looking at, to say, okay, if we feel so much safe, we must then put them down, those walls down, right? At least that's what I had picked up from that end. But on the other side, if we then remember where we come from as Africans, if I come from Limpopo, I come from the rural areas, right? To this day, the village that I come from, there aren't like big walls that are inaccessible, because we don't have a lot of crime. We don't have a lot of unsafe feeling. You would have a fence here and there, but you are still accessible from people. It's just to mark, basically, it's just to mark where your yard ends, in my view, and what I've observed, right? Of course, there are houses that have got walls, but there's no, I don't remember any house that has a wall where you can't see inside, where you can't communicate with people from the inside. Now, from an African point of view, from an African standpoint, that's how we have always been. We've always been people who are open to share things with others, right? We've always been people who advocate for Ubuntu. We know that we can't live alone, right? We live with others, and really we have to make sure that we are accessible as and when people need us, right? And when we have all these borders that seem to restrict people from accessing us, we then become an isolated community. And I think it then becomes easier for someone to look at you and go like, oh, that one thinks they're better than us. And I think that's why borders make people think that they're better than others in some way, shape, or form, right? Because you shouldn't be classified amongst those people. And this is why I say these guys are, they somewhat agree, they somewhat are in the same zone. It's just that how they are taking the whole thing and the platforms that they're speaking from, they seem to be different, but they're the same, in my view at least, right? Because yes, if someone is illegal, that person must then make sure that they are legal to be here. I don't think that Operation Dudula is fighting with people who are legally here in South Africa. No, they are fighting for people who are illegal, right? Which is something that I've heard the EFF on the other hand saying, yes, we must fight against people who do not have documentation so that they may be documented. Not chuck them away, right? But operate things so that they may be legalized. And this is a word, right? But it evades a lot of crime, right? Because if someone is not legal, they can commit any crime, and nobody would even know, would not be able to get the record of the person. So if everybody who comes in is legalized in some way and recorded somehow, it makes it better, right? And I remember there was one time where he says, and this is Julius Malema, right? Where he says, when you are hiring, you must then prioritize on your people. You must prioritize on the locals and things like that, right? When you prioritize with your people, and this is now assuming that everybody is legal. This is assuming that the fence is down and you don't need to have documentation of this nature and that nature, or there is a system that is built. Because I think if we think we can have a system that can allow everyone to be legal in the continent, really. But as it stands, when we talk about here and we talk about now, people are hungry here and now. Our government, which, by the way, it has been non-existent. ANC, they have not entered into this space. They're not interested in having a conversation about it. They're not interested in wanting to sort anything out for anyone. it almost seems like these guys are not existing. They're not there. They're living in another world, right? Because if I were the government of the day, I would want to engage these two parties and find out, okay, you guys are coming with this idea, you guys are coming with this idea. What is it that we can come up with? At least that's me. Maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm not that smart, and I agree, I accept it, right? Because if I was, I perhaps would have made moves. But the fact that these guys are not saying anything, that is telling, and that is why it has brought about these two guys who are coming up in their own way and who will be spoken about. I know that the EFF has tried to dismiss Operation Dudula in any way that they could, but I don't think that they are going anywhere, because what they say resonates with people now. What these guys say resonates with people now as well, but also prospecting into the future, right? So both of them have got things that, if those things were to be packaged nicely and made one, I think it would make people move a step further, right? We would have some form of a future. But I also accept and understand that there are people who enjoy ruling when it's chaotic, because when it's chaotic, like now, we've got Operation Dudula and Nhlanhla, EFF, Julius, Malema, they're having it out, right? They're fighting. They're having it out left, right, and center. And nobody's saying anything about the ANC. Nobody's saying anything about the DA. Nobody's saying anything about the people who are benefiting through all these things. And we will not, for a while, we won't be speaking about them because they don't make it into our conversations. They're not visible enough to want to be in the conversations, right? And one has to accept that perhaps it's time to also see that there's a possibility of one being leaderless, right? In terms of ideas, you may have a leader physically, but there aren't any ideas that are prospective enough to challenge these two, right? To say, okay, no, you may be wrong here, you may be right here, you may be wrong here, you may be right here, and we think this is the solution that would accommodate all of them, right? And but yeah, they carry on winning whatever or ruling whatever, and nothing happens really, But for me, I think the two gentlemen, if it were to happen, it would be very interesting and very nice for us to see them debate live with each other. They must interrogate each other about whatever. I mean, I liked some points that Alex made when he was at the podcast and Chill with McG, where he says if they were to rule the country, they would make it illegal for any household to not have a garden, a young garden, chicken hawks and eggs and whatnot, because then the need for food will be taken care of. Which means, right, that when you think about it, illegal foreigners or foreigners may not be a problem, right? It's just a matter of ideas. However, though, because illegal people seem to be the ones that you can fight with mostly, because if and I like the one point that he made when he was having that discussion with McG, where he says, if we just stop buying from ShopRite or Pick and Pay, whatever, right, as black people, then there won't be any need for us to panic when ShopRite or Pick and Pay or Woolies, whoever, sets up shop in our midst, because we know that we're going to support our own, right? Which is the same thing as if you are illegally in South Africa, so to speak. If your fellow South African does not hire you, if the rule that is there currently becomes tighter, then we don't have a problem of foreigners. We've got a problem of the law. Then which then goes to what Julius has always been saying, that it's not a problem of illegal foreigners, it's a problem of crime. Right? But it makes sense for us to not look at it as a crime point, because it may be at some point being perpetuated by some people who are illegal. And if these people were not here, then we would have our own people to focus on and try and deal with that in whatever way. So they come in, illegal foreigners, they edit. And with them, it's worse because there is no prospect of them being found, since there is no record of these guys. But if I am illegally here at the border or the fence, the border fence, who would have allowed me access? Who was not doing their job to begin with? Is it possible that it's South Africans? In that case, what must you do? Because then it means you are in danger, not from illegal foreigners, but from your own people who are not able to look out for you or protect you. We've got soldiers who are by the border. How can people gain access when there are soldiers day in, day out? Doesn't make sense. But hence I said, both these guys, Julius Malema, Nhlanhla, EFF, and Operation ZOLA, they seem to be in the same place. Just that these guys are doing outside of parliament, these ones are operating inside parliament. And the rules may differ. He did say, this Nhlanhla, he did say at some point that they don't plan a lot of things. They just go with the need at that point in time, which is good to operate in the needs space, right? But it's not so much sustainable going to the future, because you also need to operate within certain boundaries that have been set, right? And for me, I think they need to sit down, they need to have it out. Like, they need, I mean, I've listened to both of them, I've been following both of them, and I think they're very strong. I think they can hold their own in any shape or form. Although they can come to me, I'll hold them. Like, I'm joking. Sorry to be joking about serious things, but look, I think they're both independent mentally. They both know how to think. They're critical thinkers from what I've listened to on both parts, and I think they can have it out, they can slug it out, they can debate it out, whether it's in full view of everyone or in private, it doesn't matter. I think they can chat it out and come up with something that will be solid, more solid for everyone, you know. I know they will disagree when it comes to maybe white monopoly capital, whether, because I know EFF and Julius Malema believes white monopoly capital is still there. These ones believe it's not there, although we can have a lot to say about all of these points, right? But I think the first thing, it would be nice for them to sit down, have a chat, you know. If Nhlanhla can reach out, because I heard someone says, no, but why didn't he just reach out to me, say, okay, Nhlanhla, you're doing this wrong? No. Does not have to be one person, one part that reaches out to the other. You, Nhlanhla, so you, Julius Malema, can always reach out to the next person, say, hey, Chief, let's talk, let's have a discussion and see. You know, I mean, it's just discussions. And after all, we are known, as South Africans especially, we are known to have conversations, even with the people that we don't agree with. You know, just to understand your point of view, where you're coming from, so that when we disagree with you, we disagree with you knowing what are your standpoints. You know, we've managed to sit in parliament with people that we've never agreed with people that we continue to not agree with. So this one is it's a small fish, man. You can fry this one. You know, you can definitely fry this fish. But anyway, that's me and my thought. I think at the core of it, I think these two guys are in the same boat. It's just that they chose to have a pilot this side and the other side, or a captain. Is it a captain in the boat? Yes. But the other one has a captain this side, the other one has a captain that side. But they're in the same boat. Might not be going anywhere or going all around in a circle. But the day they meet at a certain point, something will move, something will shake. You know. But anyway, guys, it's your boy, Mr. V. I love you, man. Please continue to subscribe, continue to like, to share, hit the notification button so that you may be notified every single time I put up the videos. I know that you are going to do it. Mr. V, the V class. I'm out of here, man.